Hi, welcome. I'm Martina, and I run Fancy Studio, a design shop with 3D design that I digitally craft from my apartment in Barcelona, which I actually launched 10 days ago. And since everything is so fresh, as in how I build the brand and all of that, I thought it was the perfect moment to share more of the process that is launching your small business. And since I'm a designer, one of the things that I knew that I had to do from the beginning was designing my brand identity. So the video is going to be structured in 10 little chapters with all the steps you need to go through in order to create your brand identity. In some of them, you will dedicate more time, others, they would come naturally. It really depends on you and in the moment you are right now with your business idea. Okay, so let's get started. Most design projects usually start with the same, with research. You might have an idea, but you need some visual references to materialize it. And this is when Pinterest comes super handy because it's full of visual references from very talented people. Also, there's some stuff that are not that good, but you need to make your own selection in there. Anyway, what I like doing is just looking for logos, packaging, interiors, clothes, whatever that helps me build the imaginary that my brand will have. And whatever I like, I just pin in a new board. It doesn't really matter if what I just pin has this pastel aesthetic and then I just go and pin something that is super dark or super bold colors. It doesn't matter because at this point, we are not looking for a specific aesthetic, but we are just letting the algorithm inspire us. It will make sense in a minute. So once you have a good amount of pins pinned on that board, you are gonna open Figma, FigJam, Miro, Canva, whatever you are more comfortable with. And you're gonna start adding all those images in there. For example, you have something that is very pastel, everything together. You have something that is more dark, everything together. You have something that has bright colors, everything together. And now two possibilities can happen, that yes, you have multiple groups, or that you only have a couple, or that you only have one. If you only have one, that's great, because it means that you already had a clear idea on your mind of how your brand would look like. If you have two groups, that is also great because you're a little bit indecisive. But if you have 3, 4 or more, I would recommend to take some time to make a selection. And with that, you will have your mood board, which will be super helpful for the next steps. And we're ready to move to the next step, which is the name of the brand. In my case, I actually had the name before I did the mood board. When it comes to the name, some people tend to take a lot of time deciding. They want something that is very conceptual, very deep, very creative, very, eye-catching or ear-catching. That's not the thing. You know what I mean. In my opinion, since we are building a small business, it needs to be something that is related to ourselves. If it's your name, that's perfect. If it's related to your name, that's also perfect. If it's related to your city, your apartment, something you like, something that is important to you, that's also great. And if it's something super random, that's also great. In my opinion, the name doesn't really matter that much. And you can always rebrand at some point. As in Fancy Studio, my brand is related to my name because my surname is Soles in Spanish. So I just made this word game and I just translated it to English. So from sol to sun and then, manchis. So I just made sunsies. And I thought it was playful, I like it. So I just went all in with that. Next, we have to decide on a brand personality. Why are we talking about personality when we're talking about brand? Well, basically because I like thinking of brands like people, they have a personality. So when I think of something, as I just told you in the previous step, is that I think of something that is playful and it's colorful and that it's, it's not yelling at you, it's more cozy, but it has a good energy. At this point, you should also think about your brand this way. And if you cannot think of adjectives, you can just ask ChatGPT to give you a list of, 100 adjectives. And then you just need to make a selection. And if you cannot think about this, just go back to your mood board and maybe just screenshot it and ask ChatGPT to kind of like give you some adjectives based on the mood board. Next is the logo, which is a step that can take a lot of time, but my recommendation is go simple. What you most care about right now is launching your small business. You could always redesign or like hire someone to redesign your brand in the future. At this point, I don't think it's that important that your logo is like incredible, but I'm gonna give you some tips. You can start with a simple typography. You can browse through different free fonts from Google Fonts. Of course, you can also pay for fonts, but I just got one for free from Google Fonts. You can also get that free font or whatever font you got and tweak it a little bit by adding some details that bring that personality that you define in. So, for example, I was trying to do that, and I was trying to add some like sun rays to my font, but it ended up looking like whiskers, like cat whiskers, and I thought, okay, that's not the thing. You can also enclose it with some kind of like container, like I end up doing. So in my case, since I'm doing a sun, I just kind of like made it wavy to not be that obvious. And with that, I felt, like this typography that I got and the sun, that's it, Just keep in mind that whenever you're designing your logo, the shape that you are using need to be aligned to your brand personality. So Sunsis has like this wavy sun, as in something round, because round shapes tend to be more cozy and like friendly. So I'm trying to go in that direction. If you were doing something a bit more square or whatever, it would have another connotations. And when you are doing this, just make it black and white. Don't add any color, because for a logo to work, it needs to work on black and white. If it only works when you add a nice color, then it's probably not a good logo. And color comes next. So again, based on the personality that we define, based on the name, based on everything, and based on the mood board, most importantly, where you either have color palettes or you have like some color palette already from all the pictures that you created. From there, you can extract your main colors and create your own palette. Ideally, you would have 4. So one would be your main color, and then you would have like a secondary color, and then other colors that you're going to be using to kind of like bring more personality to your brand or not. In my case, I do have an extensive color palette because I was focusing on my filaments for the 3D objects that I'm designing. But in the end, my color palette is this lilac that I'm using that is a little bit bluish and purpley. And then I have a green that I love, and like a soft yellow, a butter yellow that I'm using for backgrounds and kind of like bring the coziness to the brand. Keep in mind that color psychology is a thing. So the colors that you're choosing are gonna affect the way that your brand is perceived. But it's not gonna be the same for someone who lives in the US or who has been raised in the US as in probably someone who has been raised in China. Like some colors mean something completely different depending on the culture. You can Google it, or you can ask ChatGPT, or you can get a book. I have books on color psychology because when I studied graphic design, we didn't have ChatGPT, and I loved buying books. Anyway, so as you can see, at this point, you are already applying all the different steps that we already completed, like the personality, the mood board, the logo, everything just comes together with color. Once you have your color palette, you can move to the next step, which is the typography, which is something that you already started doing when you were working on the logo. You might have went with something more simple and minimal, or maybe something that is like super playful. And I want you to take it back and you either go with like a very playful font for headlines, and then something more simple but readable, because like if you have everything with serifs and like italic, it's not gonna be readable, and that's gonna affect your conversions. So the rule is like something playful or like different or with more weight for the headlines, and then something easy to read for the text. And with this, our brand is almost ready. We have the personality, we have the logo, we have the name, we have the font, the colors, we have a mood board to kind of like be our North Star. But if you make physical products, you need to add one more step, that is product photography. So we need to go back to the mood board and see what kind of images we selected, and with that, we are going to have an idea more or less of how we want to present our product to the world. Next, we have the brand collaterals. This is something that is also extremely important if you make physical products, because you would want to ship your products in a branded package. Branded packages, as in these companies that make the boxes for you and the tape for you and all of that, are so expensive. So if you are just getting started, I would recommend that you start small, like I did. So I wanted to make sure that I had some branding, but like keeping it under budget. So I designed a couple of stickers. So in one I had the logo, obviously, and in the other one I just had like the container of the logo, but I just removed the name, Sound Studio, and I just put a smiley face, and I thought it was nice, kind of like the mascot of the brand. And I just made that in a different color to kind of like bring more colors and playfulness to my packaging. You can also create thank you notes. Just make sure that you have your logo in there, your website, your Instagram, and some space for handwritten notes if that's something that you want to do. I love doing that, by the way. If you are making in-person markets, you might also want to do more collaterals, like a t-shirt or like a cap, like that's up to you. I haven't done it yet, but I would definitely, like a tote bag. I would love to have a tote bag of my studio. Yeah, I'm gonna do that at some point. Next is the website, and this is the point where you just grab everything you just did and you put it there. So you put your logo, your fonts, your colors, your product photography, everything goes in there. You're gonna write your text with the personality you defined. And if you are not on Shopify, Squarespace, Wix, whatever, you are actually on Etsy, just make sure that your banner kind of like reflects what we just built. So you have your pictures in there, some typography, your logo is also there. And the last one is your online presence, because nowadays, if you're a small business owner, you're also a content creator, unless you rely truly on in-person markets, but that's not my case. So think of your social media profiles as your window shop and your website as your shop. So you need to make attractive content for people to actually then get inside of your store. And that's something that I'm still learning. I haven't managed to get people inside of the shop, actually. And maybe one day when I learn more about it, I would make a video of how to get the people inside of your store. But so far, I'm just not giving you tips about this last step because I'm still learning. I'll end the video here. Thank you so much for watching. If you're interested in building a small business, I have all the videos here. You can watch them if you haven't already. If you have some questions about your brand identity, just drop me a comment and I will try to help you the best I can. And with that, have a lovely rest of the day. See you next week. Bye!